It's Monday night, and you know what that means. It's time for the Newell and the Amazon University Esports Clash Royale competition for Spring 2021. My name is Counterfeit.
And my name is Rook.
And alongside Patrick on production desk, it's our honour to return to cover Clash Royale once more. Alongside our sponsors, Unite Students, Logitech G, and Twitch Students, and two new commentators you'll be meeting next week. We're about to kick off 8 weeks of Clash Royale competition here tonight.
And of course, that all leads to the playoffs on Monday, the 29th of March, and only those top 8 point scorers will qualify for that one. It's max 500 points a night, and the battle is between consistency and explosiveness.
And we have plenty of both of those in our Winter 2020 season, from our eventual winner, Will CR from Bournemouth University, to the consistency of the second place finisher, Mushroom from the University of Bath. We had, of course, our underdog third place CPL or Chocoholic from the University of Exeter, and the ultimately unanswered question of whether SoProBro from the University of Dundee had what it took to live up to everyone's sky-high expectations.
And I'm so glad to be able to say that all of these players are returning tonight. Mushroom is running a little bit late, but we also have new faces, and I'm excited to see what they're able to bring to the table too. So we're now also on Season 18 patch, which we will be talking about later. And, well, obviously, Pete's got the tournament format for you.
So for any of you guys who've come along before, you'll be familiar with how things are going to be working. It's a double elimination best of 3, so you can lose a total of 2 times before being eliminated from the competition. But if you can stay and remain undefeated, you can get into the finals with a bonus win. So if you're a long-time viewer, that's nothing new there, but there is something new and dramatic and important for this season.
Bans! A single card per player per best of 3. And, well, that's amazing. You've got the strategic possibilities of trends, player-specific ban counters, alternate cards that we want to try and take out, and it forces players to really retake those decks. That means things like no Hog Rider for SoProBro, no Graveyard or any of those Lava Loon pieces for Mushroom, or maybe no P.E.K.K.A for Chocoholic. It's actually really interesting as well, because there is a lot of flexibility still going around, and you look at it and go, wow, this is a real lose-out for SoProBro, not necessarily having that Hog Rider that's oh so important for them. But we have seen people playing around with things like Royal Hogs, or as Pete kind of suggested in the preamble that we talked about, the Ram Rider as well. There's definitely a lot of room to play around with, and we'll get to see more creativity from these players. And it could actually turn out to be good for SoProBro, because being able to take away something like the Tornado could be ever so effective.
Yeah, and this is going to be the real big change, which is, it's very simple on paper, but it's going to have far-reaching ramifications. We are on the Season 18 patch, so we have seen a few changes kind of just settling in now. Of course, one of those being the Expo, making a little sharpen down, a little bit more damage, a little bit more vulnerability as well.
Indeed, it has. And then Barbha also cut down a little bit in terms of that health, goes down by 22%, making it rocketable from its spawn, and also a little bit easier to kill with some of those fireballs.
Yeah, the Fisherman got descaled as well, cutting off a bit of that HP. We saw that be very, very popular last time around.
Indeed, it did. And Electro lost a little bit of their spark with a 2.5% damage decrease.
Yeah, as I said, we saw Barbha a lot. We saw the Graveyard as well, a little bit longer on the initial spawn. So I think we figured out that's going to be one less skeleton overall for an incredibly popular card.
But it might continue to be popular because things like the Heal Spirit, which lost 2/3 of its damage, now doesn't kill skeletons. And that's going to be really important because Heal Spirit was a really great way to deal with some of those skeletal threats.
We've also got the Witch and the Goblin Giant. This card is getting a little bit of a push up, so hopefully we'll get to see a little bit more of that. But coming up for our first match, Samstar against Evia, University of Surrey against King's College London. We believe we do have our first set of bans of this new ban system. So what if these players decided they don't want to see in any of the potential 3 games of our opening best of 3?
I believe it was Lava Hound banned by Samstars and the Balloon banned by Xavier. No Lava Loon anywhere at all. These players do not want to see that, and it's no surprise. It's been a strong deck for a long period of time, and it's very difficult to counter at times. And I think Samstars, in particular, last season did have a lot of trouble with that. But Xavier, being a fresh new face, I'm interested to see what they're going to be able to bring to the board.
Yeah, what we saw last time, it was incredibly close. So let's get into our first battle. So Samstar from King's College London up at the top of your screen. Xavier from the University of Surrey. It looks like we will be seeing some skeletons coming to the field, and our old friend, the Magical Archer, as well.
And a Furnace, an interesting choice here by Alex to really start on out Samstars. On the bottom side, we do have a little bit of a problem in terms of the allocation, but we do see that Hunter coming on in, and that shows us this could be a very strong deck from Alex. Hunter decks generally have a lot of ways to counter a lot of different problems.
And the bowler, that was one of our sleeper hits from last season as well. Unparalleled ground control against the squishy units, and sometimes even against some of the tougher ones as well.
Wall breakers coming out here from Samstar, getting some good damage down if it weren't for that volley. But an Inferno Dragon with that bowler maybe to head it up could lead to a lot of damage onto that right-hand tower if Samstars isn't careful.
Yeah, that's a lot of hurt coming, but of course, our good friend the Bomb Tower, answer to a heck of a lot of things, is still very viable as it's managing to hold off the bowler and allowing it for an Archer counter push from Samstar.
Indeed, and that Magic Archer also helped clean that up quite a little bit as well. Alex still got a couple of cards in the back pocket, and I think it's going to make a big difference here, especially when that Magic Archer does get so gummed up by things like the Furnace.
Yeah, just putting his stuff in the way. We saw it work exceptionally well, even for the decks which are pretty, low to the ground, pretty cheap units. If you can just get enough of them out, you can deal with a lot of stuff as a big push comes in from Samstar again.
Yeah, and those Wall Breakers will both hit. That's a good chunk of damage. That Skeleton Army was a little too late, unfortunately. It means they can't get all too much about it, but that is a surprise and a half to see a Sparky coming out here.
Oh boy, well, hoping we were going to see some surprises here from Alex, and we will. That's a lot of Elixir, and it's going to have a Skeleton Giant as well to lead the charge.
Oh, that is a great hide from Alex there, but with the Bomb Tower, it might not be enough to get them on through. The push on the left is mostly getting mitigated, but that mine is getting a lot of damage down. You have to be ever so careful about it. Sparky, alas, finds little to nothing.
Yeah, Alex is starting to split across and make sure they didn't lose out too much, but they ultimately take a big chunk of damage, so Samstar pretty far ahead. The more veteran player here getting the job through as the Bomb Tower has pulled in so much aggro so far, and looks like that's not about to change.
Yeah, manages to gum up both of those Wall Breakers. Does the Furnace too, those buildings ever so pesky. Magic Archer on the back to deal with these three big threats coming in at once. They're going to need a lot to be able to take all this down, and with the Furnace backing it up, this could be a big push for Alex here.
Their second chime, maybe the charm. We will be going further here, so the Sparky will just about get that shot through. That equalizes nearly all the damage done so far by Samstar.
Yeah, it is one massive bit of damage, and it looks like there's another push on that left as well, looking for that sudden death win. Doesn't want to go to decision here, and we see as well that there's a counter push coming out from Samstars right away onto this right-hand side, but again, that Furnace just gets in the way.
We've seen this from so many different buildings so many times. Just get in the way, stop the attack in its tracks as Alex is building up a two-pronged attack now, both left and right towers being threatened here. The Sparky did get dropped, and it means I think we are going to go fairly deep into overtime here.
Indeed, we are. A good log there does mean that it's not quite enough going on in. Skeleton Army just raw straight onto that left-hand side. The Bomb Tower again mitigating most of that damage and just doesn't find very much. Alex has to be careful. Does have a lot of Elixir because it is double Elixir overtime though.
Yeah, and that means you can deploy some more of these big old units that Alex has been using so far. Down to 60 seconds remaining. A very competitive match to open us up this season.
Yeah, 3 Elixir overtime, and now it's just got to be that little bit of damage left, but there's too many units to stop these Magical Archers from getting that bit of damage on. You can see that the Miner really wants it, but unfortunately, that Tornado buys a bit of time with some direct damage and another Miner. That could be gone.
Yeah, all the damage that Samstar's been doing so far is paying off as we're very close to the end here for Alex. They need to make a kill here on one of these towers. Left-hand tower down to 877.
Just one snipe, that's all they need, but the Furnace tanks it up. Just one Miner, one log, one anything could finish off that right-hand tower. Samstar is just looking for an opportunity to get it here, and with the left pushing on in, there it is, there's the damage. And Samstar, our veteran, picks up game 1 here.
Yeah, very nicely done, but what a hell of a showing from Alex. We didn't know necessarily what to expect from them coming in. They certainly gave us something to be thinking about. This is a big part of last season as well, is do you bring out these heavy hitters, or are there just too many ways of dealing with them?
Yeah, and I think that was the big problem, is Alex just didn't have that flexibility to really get around things. Samstars was able to outplay them with some of those cheaper units and gum up the works. And we saw a lot of that with 2.6 and 2.3 Hog Cycle, and a lot of other decks looking to try and employ that too.
So, there won't be any new bans for the rest of the series, bear in mind, though. Once we get to the next games, those bans, next series rather, those bans can change every single time. So, particularly for the players who are appearing on stream, I have to think that's going to affect what kind of bans come their way later on in the competition.
Absolutely, especially if you're one of those top contenders, you've got to be careful about what you show. And I think, again, there's a player who was kind of embodying that very much last season, not wanting to fall into any repetition. That was Will CR, our eventual winner. And I think it's a recipe to follow. It's a recipe for success.
Yeah, we did get a chance to talk to Will CR, our previous season champion before it all started. And they're looking to employ a very similar strategy to before, building up, trying to get better and better week by week. But we've still got at least one more game between Alex and Samstar here. So for Alex, we get to see this is still blind choice heading into game number 2. So Alex could still stick with the big hitters. Let's see what they've got for us.
Interesting, and it looks like they're starting off with just that. Dark Prince, though, coming out on the return. It's obviously going to get zapped a little bit, but should find that big hit. That shield does tank up so much.
Yeah, great answer straight away. It does not look like the University of Saudi student Alex has changed up too much heading into game 2. Of course, there are always some mind games at play here. Because, for Samstar, having won the first game, it's a reasonable assumption that your opponent's going to make a difference. Magical Archer? That's new.
It certainly is, and it's a good way to try and deal with some of these bigger groups of units. And I'd like to see at least Alex move away from something like the Skeleton Army, which is so easy to deal with. And it looks like we're on the Electro theme today.
Hey, if it works, it works. The Sparkies, they are amazing at being able to cut down any of these charging units. Won't be that great against the Hunter. Will be okay for the cost. Will provide a lot of disruption, though, as the Dark Prince goes in. And that shield we mentioned from before, allowing to absorb some of these big hits and still stay standing.
Yeah, and there's the Prince with its charge, gets a lot of damage in. It means that they are able to chunk up that Skeleton Giant. But the Hunter makes it through because, obviously, it lacks that momentum when it's going towards that second unit.
So Poison ticking away, still a very popular card. We are almost certain of that, as Sparky does at least trade itself across while the Bowler gets in some damage. So that's ultimately leaving us with both Alex and Samstar with some pretty damaged right-hand towers, but nearly perfect left-hand princesses.
Yeah, not a single unit below 4 cost right now for Alex. An interesting strategy, and it seems to be paying off so far, as they have been able to trade quite heavily back.
So we've got the Prince set up from Samstar here. Still a couple of cards from both our players to be revealed as the Skeleton Giant holds the bridge here. We'll, of course, be dropping that bomb on the spawn as the Skeletons come out in force down the left-hand side, get immediately caught up by the Barbarian Barrel. And we're left with, ultimately, not a ton on the field, as, of course, the Sparkies will disrupt the Inferno Dragon.
And there it is, a Graveyard onto the back. That's great timing, and with a good snowball, they're able to mitigate a lot of this damage, but the Hunter is able to mostly clear that up. A good poison will hit both the Bowler, the Tower, the Hunter, and the Sparky here. A great usage of that spell there, but Samstars doesn't have a lot of elixir left. They are pressed for time now.
And getting very close to overtime once again, with one more card left to reveal for Alex from Surrey. They're going to be able to hold the bridge pretty darn well. Skeleton Giant has been certainly providing a lot of extra time, but we're now into overtime as the Bowler drops down. Here comes the push.
Oh, it didn't get the charge off. That is disastrous. With this double Prince comp, you want to be deploying far enough away so you get those charges off. But it looks like it might still be enough to get that advantage going very low. That right-hand tower for Alex is not in a good way. One more poison could easily seal the deal.
Yeah, that's the inevitability you've got when you've got those direct damage cards, that sooner or later you're going to run out of time, even with this much overtime left in. But Alex, they need to make the play stick now, as they are running into getting stuck on the bridge once again. They've just got the 5 elixir left up in the mix. The Snowball is still pecking away at the right-hand tower.
Indeed, it is just putting all of that direct damage down where they can. Hunter should be able to deal with this problem pretty well with some backup as well. You can see so many tanky units just moving on forward, trying to put pressure onto that right-hand tower. With the Graveyard coming down and a likely poison to follow, that might be all she wrote. There it is. There comes the poison. And Samstars, with those more tricksy deck with that direct damage, is able to pick up game 2 as well.
Yeah, that's going to be disappointing for our University of Surrey student, but still, Samstar, a very strong way to open things up here today. I'm liking a lot of what we're seeing there. We're seeing a lot of the same kind of strong things we saw last season still continuing to work.
Yeah, even with some of the nerfs. I mean, obviously Graveyard a little bit weaker, but still doing its job perfectly fine, as Samstars proves. And I think we will, even with that minor nerf, see a lot of Graveyard. I'd be very surprised. I think we're likely to see a lot of bans go towards it.
All right, let's take a quick look back at that last series and just check in some of the details. So you can see here, it's really, really hard, even with that control of the bridge, to get the damage through, especially, this in game number 1, where you had that bomb tower getting in the way so often.
Yeah, it proves why those buildings are so important to gum up some of those big, heavy-hitting units, and they tank up a lot, deal with often big problems, like the bomb tower does, and is able to bring a lot as well. And here again, we talked about it just a couple of seconds ago, that direct damage, that ability to be able to play further away from your towers is oh so important.
Yeah, and we can see for Alex, they were just the frustration. They didn't have that option there for their own deck, so they couldn't go and do the same thing. They were kind of forced to be left behind with the Zappies kind of pecking them away at the bridge. Even if Samstar couldn't get across that bridge, they could still use all that direct damage to still force out a win anyway.
Absolutely could. And for the most part, they were kept in their own half. A lot of pressure coming out from those big, heavy hitters that Alex is putting on the board, but unfortunately, when you've got something that big and heavy, it often is unwieldy. So the deck as a whole, unable to find its mark at the very end.
All right, guys, we will be headed to a short break before we come back with our next round of the Clash Royale competition. Remember, of course, that everyone has got a second chance in this competition, so you may well be seeing more from Alex from the University of Surrey, but we'll be catching you back in a few minutes' time for our next round.
That's when we need each other. 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 They'll know how we do it. They'll never get it anyway. Conquering the impossible. All with a smile on our face. We work hard, we play harder, we push it to the limit, going farther and farther. We work hard, we play harder, we push it to the limit, going farther and farther. Grind all day, we dance all night. With body freaks and nature, with body freaks, body freaks. Grind all day, we dance all night. With body freaks and nature.
Welcome back, one and all, and we're about to start our next round of our Clash Royale competition with a returning face from before. Chocoholic making it into third from last time round from the University of Exeter, now going up against Samstar into the second round here. So, for Samstar, this is a big opportunity to show that they can hang with the top dogs.
Indeed, they had this chance in the previous season and unfortunately weren't able to take down Chocoholic before. I think this matchup was actually pretty common. At least 3 times these guys played against each other. Bit of a surprise there, but every time I think Chocoholic came out on top, and Samstars really must have a grudge at this point. They need to prove themselves here.
So for the bans, we are going to see Lava Hand banned out again this round from Samstar. CPL though, changing things up. We did see Zappies turn up in the previous best of 3. That's not going to be part of this one here. And this is going to be a big test for our players here. If they've got a deck based around these cards, they're going to have to very quickly come up with something else on the fly.
Indeed they will. It's going to be, I think, very interesting. It's surprising to see the Zappies gone. They're a strong unit to try and counteract something. I mean, if you're looking at something Inferno Tower or Inferno Dragon based, I think there's a lot of argument to be made there, but generally very surprising.
All right, so let's start things off. Samstar looks like they're going to be bringing out something different for this game. Of course, the wall breakers we did see working pretty darn well before. If they're not answered, then it's going to be in major trouble.
Ooh, picked off at the very end there. This is seeming very similar to Samstar's Game 1 deck from last game.
We are seeing the cannon cart here from Chocoholic, which has proven to be pretty darn popular. A little on the expensive side, but that redeploy means it will stick around usually for a while.
Did it well, and with that Knight tanking up, there could have been some good damage, but there they are, the Royal Guards coming on through, and meaning that you're not going to find anything with those backline threats.
Bomb Tower's going to do a good job of keeping the walls from the door. Do manage to get the tower down as the balloon comes in, not banned out this time round, which means it can be coming in for that big damage hit.
Yeah, it's going to get at least one. Oh, the tornado might mean it doesn't. No, it's still going to land, get at least one, and that's a lot of damage. Can it get the second? It doesn't quite. But obviously, that drop on Death Bomb does manage to chunk as well, and Chocoholic has a huge lead in terms of health total.
Yeah, that's a massively advantaged trade there. So for Samsung, they're going to have to really rethink what they're doing here in its first game of the best of 3. The first series went pretty darn well, and it looks like direct damage is still the order for the day as a miner comes through.
It does. Those wall breakers don't find their hit, unfortunately for Samstars. Get completely taken away by that Hunter, and that means its Cannon Cart is going to get a lot of opportunity to move up and deal a lot of damage here, especially with a good snowball.
And managed to get into range, going to trade across with the Knight pretty nicely. Magical Arch will even get tagged on the tail end as well, so that may well be too low to get any serious work done for Samstar.
It is a good elixir trade for Chocoholic, and they're going to be able to get a lot out of this next push, which they're going to go for straight away. Those Royal Guards dropped, likely just committing wherever we see Samstars not invest something. A lot of elixir leaked here. Put down that log. Don't invest too much in the Lumberjack towards this right-hand side.
Yeah, this is a big commit here for Chocoholic. They'll take down the mana pretty quickly. Those Royal Recruits will have backup from the Berserk. And the balloon as well coming through in the air. The tower goes down quickly. That right-hand Princess Tower is in major trouble. There is the speed up and a good hit in there for the balloon.
Yeah, manages to get it. That extra attack speed from that Berserk that Rage does mean that they're going to be able to get a lot of damage on in there, finish off that tower, and with a 70 HP on the other, that's just one snowball or fireball away from an easy round win for Chocoholic here. There's no chance for Samstars to be able to take this one.
Yeah, Chocoholic sitting on the Lumberjack for a while there. You see Samstar just being demolished here, taken to pieces by a University of Exeter student. Unfortunately, all that direct damage this time round, there just wasn't enough time to make it count.
Indeed, there wasn't, and that's a great way for Chocoholic to start off their season on stream with a pretty dominating performance, honestly, against Samstars.
Yeah, I mean, for Samsung, I really feel like they can't bring that same kind of deck into game number 2 because it just wasn't working at all. It didn't have enough to be able to deal with what Chocoholic was putting out. Those recruits, when they arrive en masse, suddenly you're in a world of trouble very, very quickly.
Indeed, and I really liked that we saw last time that that Samstars banned away, I believe, either Balloon or Lava Loon, can't remember it, or the Lava Hounds, taking away some of those aerial threats, because this list does not deal well with them. And Chocoholic just went, all right, I'm just going to run my Balloon since you didn't ban it away, just took that Zappies away, and I think very easily claimed victory because of it. I think Samstars doesn't necessarily need to change the entire deck, but at least find some way to effectively deal with those aerial threats, because they really struggled.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes that's going to be for the players, to bring aerial of their own, to be able to, make the battle be about controlling the skies. In other cases, swarm the ground, be able to get underneath those aerial units and end up with the same problem that you can potentially get your damage through, but if you can't deal with the threats on the ground, it's not going to matter.
Honestly, I think a really good read here for Samstars would be to take something like the minions. They do a lot of damage, or even bats. Cheap, easy, does a lot of aerial damage. Exactly what you want here. But bringing out some pretty long-ranged Hail Mary shots with the Goblin Barrel and also that Skeleton Barrel.
Yeah, interesting double barrel choice here as we see the Ram Rider coming through. We're looking out to see...
Sorry.
No, we're looking out, of course, for the Hog Rider later on from SoProBro, if it gets to be played.
Indeed. I would be very surprised to not see it played from him if it doesn't get banned away, but looks like it's a bit of bridge spam for Chocoholic here until they showed that Inferno Dragon. An interesting choice here, but obviously a good way to deal with some of those big health units we saw Samstars bring out in that second game.
The Dark Goblin getting taken out by the poison. There's a big attempt being put up here by Chocoholic. The Ram Rider will not be distracted, but the damage is avoided. Nice use there of the Fireball for a bit of relocation.
If it weren't for those skeletons, that actually would have been good for Chocoholic, because they would have gotten a lot of damage off from that Inferno Dragon, because it wouldn't have gone over towards the bomb tower. It was closer to the tower at that point. So nice usage of the skeletons from Samstars to mitigate any further pain.
Chocoholic going to be bringing out the Bandit once again. The Earthquake, of course, still something we've yet to see in our competitions so far. Very popular to be able to deal with those building decks, but Mega Knight to the field. There's some big damage coming from Chocoholic.
Yeah, this is a great beefy front line, especially for something that really wants to wail on those towers like this Inferno Dragon. If you can get that Inferno Dragon to hit, that could be massive. You can see the Mega Knight is moving on forward, easily makes short work of those skeletons, and they might be able to get rid of this bomb tower oh so quickly. But in the end, that Knight does gum it up for a reasonable amount of time.
Skeleton Barrel will distract the Inferno Dragon for the time being, though. That does mean there's a whole bunch of skeletons left, and the Ram Rider should be able to take care of most of them. There we go, the Bowler clearing the way, but the Bomb Tower still seems to be a problem for Chocoholic. They've got some damage through, but I suspect not anywhere near as much as they would like.
Really not. Dark Goblin is low, but these skeletons are going to tank that charge from the Bandit, and that obviously makes a big difference here. Now, Inferno Dragon has nothing to really tank for it, which is obviously a big problem.
Yeah, and it's going to get distracted by everything in the world. It's Electro Wizard will be the last card for Chocoholic, holding to that one for a while. As we noted, having a little bit of the damage taken away in the Season 18 patch, but still very good for disruption.
Yeah, still so strong and great at dealing with groups as well with that Chain Lightning. The Inferno Dragon still completely gummed up in its attempt to be offensive there. Does manage to get onto the tower.
Whoa.
There's very little able to stop it with that poison. That's so much damage. It is pushed away by an explosion there, which means it does get reset, but you're already on 700 HP on that right-hand tower for Samstar.
Yeah, this is terrible news for Samstar. That means they pretty much have to get a successful push through, and so far they haven't even gotten close to making that happen.
They just haven't found their way on in. The Dark Goblin is wailing away onto that Mega Knight, but he's too big, too chunky. That makes it a real problem, even with all of the units coming on in. That beefy frontline, that Inferno Dragon could just go to town.
And so far for Samstar, they have been disappointed again and again. For them, this will be sending them into the lower bracket. Chocoholic starts out their on-stream season extremely well.
Yeah, really impressive stuff. A very controlled game, and it didn't feel like there was much, if any way, for Samstars to really get a word in edgeways. I think the big problem there was really, and we're going to see it when we have some replays, but some misplacement of that bomb tower. It needs to be closer to drag across that Inferno Dragon, because otherwise it's just going to go straight on the tower. It's easy to get a load of damage very quickly, and we saw what the result was.
Alright, so let's take a look back at game number one. As you saw here, this wasn't even close by the end. We can see Samstar's base in ruins towards the end, and they're still facing down a ton of stuff, even coming into the closing moments.
Yeah, and there were too many units, nowhere near enough time, and even direct damage to play with for Chocoholic. It was, as I said, a very controlled game, and it didn't change much, honestly, going into that game too, because from there, we can see what was happening here. There's going to be a push, there's going to be an Inferno Dragon coming on down just now, and most of this front line, maybe it can come up for a little bit, but it gets cleaned pretty quickly. They invest way too much here, because they don't have the Elixir to really put anything back down. This Mega Knight jumps straight onto the tower, and with the backup from the rest of these units, easily gets rid of the bomb tower as well. Very, very quickly. Already gone. Inferno Dragon doesn't even get close enough, and that means it goes straight on the tower, and the game is just over.
Yeah, for Samstar, that was really tough as well because, even if there hadn't been that slight mistake with the placement of the bomb tower, they just weren't getting across the river at all. The units just, not strong enough to be able to stand up against the Mega Knight and all the damage of the Inferno Dragon.
And that wasn't a problem for them in their first series today, but here in the second series, Chocoholic abused that well, and means that Samstars does go down into that lower bracket now.
Yeah, but of course, with their first round win, they have got another chance to make it in, but for Chocoholic, they're well on their path to be able to make it through, get that first finals place. For Chocoholic, this is a big journey this season. Last time they were really in the shadow of Will and Mushroom, our two top finishing players from before, never able to get into the same level of success that they have, but perhaps this season something will be different.
Indeed, I feel like it could potentially be their time, and I'm very excited to see how much they've grown from last season. But as we said, some massive people to contend with. They are big threats on the horizon, and Chocoholic, a victory against Samstars is great, and obviously very important for the tournament, but they've still got a lot to prove, I do feel.
Alright guys, we'll be taking a short break, but when we return, the ones we mentioned before, Will and Mushroom, our two top finishers from last season, will be going up against each other directly, so you absolutely do not want to miss out. That's going to be an absolutely fantastic best of 3. So we'll catch you guys in a few short minutes time as we return for more Clash Royale. Welcome back, everyone, to the Amazon University Esports Clash Royale competition. Spring 2021 has already been pretty well, and now we move into one of our highlight matches of the night. Number 1 versus number 2, Will against Mushroom. A chance for redemption, and the winner here going on to face CPL in the next round.
Wow, we have some awesome matches coming up then. Obviously, the last finals that we had was Mushroom versus Will. These guys have faced up against each other. They're best mates, and their matches always seem to be ever so crazy. A wide swathe of decks, and, well, even more Clash Royale action, and fantastic micro as well. We've seen some brilliant stuff from these guys across the board.
Yes, as you said, Will literally teaching Mushroom to bring them up to the level. And Mushroom and Will, as you guys may have seen in the Twitch chat, really making a very big sting of things coming into this one. They've been on quite a journey together through the competition. I think, Mushroom so many times has seemed like they're ready to step out of Will's shadow, to take all that they've learned and bring it to the next level, but it hasn't quite happened in the way it needs to. Mushroom's consistency, though, has been spectacular.
Yeah, they have been absolutely fantastic. They've made multiple wins and basically been in the finals nearly every single time, if not every single time. I can't quite remember, so I'm hedging my bets here by saying just about every single time, but continually impressive performance. Starting off here, showing their hands very little, as they're both using pretty default units to try and test the waters.
So Will choosing to take away Poison for this best of 3, and Mushroom banning out the I think our most popular ban so far, Lava Hand.
Yeah, not a surprise to see that one go on out. But the turret coming on through from a Will here, surprised to see that invested so early. It is a big, expensive unit at 5 Elixir.
Yeah, normally, definitely going to do a lot better when it can spend a little bit of time on its own side of the river, as we have got the minions up in the sky. Of course, the heavy hitters able to take out balloons. We do see any of them this game.
Both bringing mega minions. We saw that was an absolute house in previous seasons, so not a surprise to see it recur here. Great way to deal with some of those aerial threats that we've seen can plague players in this tournament so far.
So Mushroom from the University of Bath will have the Goblin Cage. To say, we've seen that be very, very popular as an answer, much as the Bomb Tower has been to a lot of these building threatening units, as a cannon cart once more will set up on the bridge. But so far, only minimal damage being done to Mushroom, and none at all being done to Will.
Yeah, well, that's going to be changed, as that Ice Wizard does manage to find some damage. And again, we're going to have this Mega Minion face-off, and it should come out in at least Will's favour. There's going to be a small push behind this with the archers, but not all too much. Mostly just waiting it out. And Will is the master of patient play.
Oh, absolutely. And Mushroom has been sitting under that learning tree for a long time at this point, so fully expect to see that star reflected in them as well. These are two incredibly high-level players in the competition, and I think based on what we've seen so far, as the Royal Giant comes in, this could be a game won or lost on the basis of one push doing barely any damage.
Yeah, this could be a big opportunity with that Royal Giant. They're going to be able to need to gum it up before it can get right onto that tower, and they are getting a lot of damage, especially with that bomb tower going on in, and a fireball to deal with that backline. It's a little bit of damage, but it's a lot of investment here, and a second Royal Giant coming right on down. Mushroom is looking for a big push here.
Yeah, Mushroom's not messing around. They've got the most damage through so far this game. But we have got the counter push coming in. Here comes the graveyard that Mushroom was so well known for in the previous season. It's not going to get a ton of damage through. No, I take it back. It's getting loads of damage through. Those skeletons are not going down. We're almost out of time here. The Mega Minion almost gets a job done.
And you have to be so worried now if you're Mushroom. You're in 2 times Elixir, 340 health on that right-hand tower, and there's a graveyard, there's a fireball, there's a snowball, there's so much to be able to get right onto it, and you can see it's coming down straight away as soon as that Royal Giant is invested. So much invested to try and keep it alive, but with all of this utility and that fireball in the back pocket, and even just, direct damage coming on down, that's game 1 going over to Will.
Oh boy, I love what we were seeing from Mushroom there, though. That double Royal Giant, that felt like that should have been a knockout blow, but Will was able to turn it back to counterattack. There was just nothing left to say at that point.
Absolutely, and it was the investment from Mushroom. Royal Giant, Another Royal Giant. As soon as that push was thwarted, Will was like, all right, it's my time to go. Graveyard on the back, invests a lot to try and back it up, and almost completely takes out that tower in one single push. And you were saying how important it was going to be these single pushes that deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, the opening part of the game, it felt like they were really feeling each other out in that first game. I have to wonder, how much they've been practicing against each other specifically, and especially coming into this one with the ban system as well. Our players having to be always flexible to be able to not just figure out what the other person is playing, but make sure that the counter decks they're using actually still function.
Yeah, it certainly will. And I mean, I think the really interesting thing as well is that Will was able to play so passively for such a long time and also get a lot of info from Mushroom here. So he's able to switch things up, but we obviously know that Mushroom is bound to do the same thing. Moving towards a more Princess Archer focused deck, maybe going for some kind of log bait here, but looks like Will might be on the exact same thing.
This time around, though, Mushroom actually gets a fairly good amount of damage through, so they're going for some direct damage of their own. As the Wall Breakers come in, they will get caught by the Ice Spirit. Of course, we mentioned before, the Heal Spirit getting nerfed to be a little bit less utility for everything. Ice Spirit, though, still fair game.
Yeah, still very, very strong there. Nice investment and some good trades back. That's what this Lookbait deck is so good at. It has fantastic ways to get some good direct damage, but obviously also answers in the form of that log. Manages to completely destroy the Princess, and that's 3 elixir off the board for the cost of 2.
Yeah, and that's the problem with that Princess. Just so easy to take out as the Wall Breakers come in. Doesn't look like Mushroom actually has an answer to that at all.
Yeah, wanted to try and deny it, but unfortunately completely gets locked up on that turret. As a result, doesn't find all too much. There it comes, and there's, well, a royal delivery.
Yes, you can see there another way to be able to get rid of any of those pesky barrels which come your way. It's looking like Mushroom bring out the Princess as well, as the Valkyrie answers the initial push in. Both these players playing relatively similar decks, or at least in terms of, not got any of the big hitters. The Hunter looks like it's going to be one of the most expensive things for Will.
Yeah, it is indeed, alongside that cannon cart, which is obviously very impactful if you can get it down in your opponent's half. Means you can get so much damage. But that Inferno Tower, likely to make things pretty easy in terms of dealing with that turret. But does go down, and that means they can wail a lot on there with these goblins. 400 HP on that left-hand tower, and not a lot on that right-hand tower either.
Wow, I mean, the Inferno Tower, completely unexpected. Would have been spectacular against some of these big threats like the Mega Knight, but in this matchup, it's not great. So, I don't know if we even see that getting played again, because it got worked around, and now Will's coming in for another push.
Here they are, those princesses go. The wall breaker's frozen up, and the log denies it as well. Will wanted to try and sneak that one in, but unfortunately won't get enough. Hunter still manages to wail on that right-hand tower, a lot of health advantage, but it's only that first tower that needs to happen. One big push from Mushroom could win this game for that.
The Mushroom needs to make it happen. The Princesses are good. That's a lot of long-range damage, but they don't survive. We are now into overtime, and we know that Will can reach out and take that last bit of health away very easily.
They are, both of these towers are now a problem for Mushroom. Has to be very, very careful. There are ways to get these damage if these wall breakers sneak on through, if that Princess finds a good couple of hits, but is at least denied by that Valkyrie.
The Goblin Gang get in the way. It's desperation time for our University of Bastion, and they are gonna go down at 0-2, which means Will is the one moving forward to face off against Shockaholic.
University of Birth student really needs to scrub up their act. A class performance from Will there, proving why they were the champion and did take it over Mushroom before. Some really great reads, some good micro, and in a log bait match, a mirror match, comes out on top.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be disappointing for Mushroom to start off the season that way, but still, Will coming in as our previous season champion, it's always going to be the favorite here.
Absolutely, and proves that I thought it'd be a 2-1. I thought it'd be a little bit closer, but really it did show us what more. And I mean, these replays will show you exactly why they're able to lock it on out. They just had that massive health advantage, and they just had the ways to play that long-range game, be it the wall breakers, the princess, or something like that. Or as we see here, the graveyard, the fireball, and the snowball.
We saw this so much in the previous season. The Royal Giant, under the right circumstances, can be fantastic. But under these circumstances, when you desperately need something to defend yourself with, the Royal Giant's doing nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. It walks on through, tanks up a little bit damage to be sure, but that's 6 elixir down the drain, not defensive at all, and you have to be very wary of that. And, well, you can see here again, Will counterpunches that elixir investment. Look at how much elixir advantage they had there, and now it's basically all over because this cannon cart gets into that opponent's half, and it's very difficult to deal with. It's actually very, very tanky.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprisingly so. We mentioned, it is a relatively big investment at that 5 elixir, but the results speak for themselves. Will put a lot of faith in the unit, and in this case, it paid off pretty darn nicely.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see more cannon cart this season. It's really been on the up and up, and a lot of players seem to be loving it. So it's not a surprise to see Will running it here. I think he was running it towards the end of last season as well. And Mushroom, I like that they were kind of trying to tech around, bringing in the Valkyrie, expecting some of those smaller groups of units. And it is a great way to deal with them. But in the end, it wasn't really enough to push them over the edge, even though they thought they had the read on what Will was bringing out.
So if Mushroom can't stand up to Will, we'll have to turn our eyes to Chocoholic. The perennial third place seems to have been looking pretty strong so far. But guys, we'll take a short break before we come back to that. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Unite Students, Logitech G, and Twitch Student. We'll be back with our entrance to the Grand Finals match coming up in just a few short minutes' time.
Running round like dollars in the wind, bending over backwards just to let you in. I told you that one day ain't never enough. You tell me I hate you, I still call you up. If we don't got got trust, we can never have love. I was putting in the hours, I was. But you were calling me a liar, 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 liar. Yeah, I've been putting in the hours, I was. And it's coming down to now and now and now and now and never. I was putting in the I'm sick of fighting the things that you said. I don't wanna burn all our bridges ahead. I'm tired of going to bed when you left me on red just to turn up the noise in my head. I told you that one day ain't never enough. You tell me I hate you, I still call you up. If we don't got trust, we can never have.
Welcome back, one and all. I'm Counterfeit, still with Rook, and we're going into our upper bracket grand finals. We've seen Will, our last season champion, carving a path through the competition. Now, only one stands in their way.
Well, it was Mushroom Stew first, and now, well, they've got a hankering for chocolate. Chocoholic up as their competitor in these winners' finals. I'm really excited to see Chocoholic in these winner finals. They had a couple of chances, I believe, against Mushroom last season, but not many. And to start off strong like this, it's a great look.
So we have received info on the bans heading into this series. So for Chocoholic, they banned Zappies. Will's actually banned Poison, which, as we know, is, of course, nearly always the answer to the graveyard.
An interesting choice there from Will. I think Chocoholic will probably be preparing something else. Maybe the Valkyries, which we actually saw last game. The Hunter does a good job. There's a couple of units that are, but none quite as cost-effective and as versatile as the Poison. So I do think this is a really interesting ban coming out here. But Chocoholic will have to be on their toes to take down Will here, as he's already set a pretty threatening note from that first matchup versus Mushroom.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing spectacularly so far in the competition. Yeah, Will taking out everyone so far without dropping a single game. Chocoholic, this will be absolutely massive for them if they can somehow pull this one off, but it's going to be quite the task.
It is. Not much shown early on here. Maybe a package for the Fisherman here, but it's not going to find all too much damage. We'll get some on there, but the Tornado just barely doesn't activate that King Tower.
And we know that these tiny mistakes can lead to big things. So there's no activated King Tower, which means that Chocoholic still gets to make their push through. The Raw Recruits will fill up the battlefield. Looks like it's going to be a Prince answer from Will.
It is. Going to see it come on through, but not a great answer to some of those Royal Guards. They are easy to soak up that massive hit of damage that Prince brings as it charges on in. There it is. The Rage Potion does mean there's going to be a lot of damage coming through here, and with the Fisherman denying that charge from the Prince onto the tower, that's a massive trade back for Chocoholic. They have the lead.
Yeah, this is amazing news for our University of Exeter student. I don't think they could have expected it to go quite as well as this. You can see Will already looking like they're ready to throw in the towel. But of course, we know that we should never underestimate the Bournemouth University student. Even if, with only one good hit from Chocoholic, they take the right-hand tower, Will won't give up until the time is called.
Absolutely. Interesting deck coming out from Will here. Maybe going to have that Dark Prince as well to be able to do something. But I think you're very happy for that Rage Potion to go on down. If you Electro Giant, we haven't seen this before. I'm also excited to see it in action as it's just moving on forward and zapping them on down. And a decent amount of damage already onto the tower. It does get pulled towards the middle. A good Tornado to get a lot of damage out of that baby dragon, but not the trade back that Will needed to see.
No, and that's an incredibly expensive 8 elixir unit. Only really eclipsed by that Golem there, but still drew a lot of attention as the balloon goes across. Will get caught by the cage and held in place for the time being. So no combo there with the Lumberjack. It looks to be Will's trying to build up an attack on the right-hand side.
Here they are. You can see that Rage Potion does allow them to make short work of some of those units that are in the back. But that Baby Dragon does get a lot of work on through, but it only needs to be a couple of units to make it on in. Unfortunately, you can see that the Prince just doesn't let it happen. And very little direct damage from Chocoholic here could be their downfall. Now for a major push. And the Tornado as well sets up for a perfect usage of this Electro Giant, but it takes a lot of damage as it moves on in.
Yeah, it's not performing for Will so far in this game. I mean, it's a big commitment, and now we're into overtime. There's a bit more elixir to maybe back that Giant up with more, but one card to be revealed from both of our players. Where's the direct damage? And it's that last card.
He was hiding it in the back pocket, and as soon as some kind of investment came on through, that Baby Dragon will try and wail onto it. But oh, that Tornado might have bought just enough time. It won't be able to get a hit on. Doesn't even get the bomb on either. Chocoholic has to be careful, but has some of that damage in the back pocket. The bomb hit? I'm so shocked by that. Chocoholic steals the game.
Yeah, that's exceptionally well played from our University of Exeter student. And to get the first win of the competition against Will here and now, that's one hell of a way to make a statement for the rest of things. If they get their second win, they get into the finals, and they get a free win in the best of 5. I mean, Chocoholic, they were denied those tournament wins last season. This is a huge opportunity for them.
And historically, Chocoholic has actually had not too bad a matchup into Will. Will has taken down Mushroom, taken down Sopro with relative ease, but when it came to Chocoholic, they always seemed to be stumped, and I think this is honestly the perfect storm for Chocoholic here.
Oh. See, Lava Hound has been banned out in most of our previous games. Now, it comes to the field for Chocoholic, a very early commit from both sides.
Yep, the Inferno Dragon on both sides. The Inferno Dragon's so good at dealing with the mirror as well, but this is Lava Loon coming out from Chocoholic, and they might be in a very difficult position as a result. Bone Dragons should make short work as well of this balloon. It doesn't even get a hit on in. And that Lava Hound, with those Lava Pups, it's already moving on in. Should be able to destroy this Inferno Dragon response.
So it's a battle for the skies between Will and Chocoholic. They both had the same idea. They both seen the opportunity to get some good hits in. And looking like the one remaining dragon, Skeleton Dragon, will get a hit through. Ultimately, we're left with minor damage done to both, but Will's not done.
Diddy isn't going to be that balloon coming on through. Not much in the way to deal with it. The volley does get some damage down, but that's still going to be a lot. And Will gets a big old chunk here. Might even find the next. The zap just about saves the tower, but still not a good position to be in if you're Chocoholic here.
We see why that balloon is so valued. If you don't have the right answer at the right time, it just absolutely ruins you. The Barbarians will draw out a further answer from Chocoholic as well. That left-hand tower, perilously low.
An absolutely fantastic start for Will here, looking to strike back after Chocoholic managed to pull away that game 1. Lava Hound gets invested again, and they're up for some more, well, because it's Lava Hound, dogfighting.
So this is our upper bracket finals again. Whoever wins out this best of 3 goes straight to the finals and gets to take a break and gets the advantage in the final series of the day here. Nice use of the arrows there to clear away the pups. It's going to be a battle of Inferno Dragons in the sky, but we cannot ignore that left-hand Princess Tower for Chocoholic. It's just a matter of time unless they can make a big push stick here.
They are looking to make it happen. So much invested in this mirror matchup of mirror matchups between these two teams. It's a good bomb, means it will clear at least one. Oh, doesn't quite. Has to invest the zap as well. But it's a good fight, some good damage down. It's still nowhere near the health that left-hand tower is on. Chocoholic needs to be quicker with this.
The double Lava Hound taking to the skies once again. The big tank up in the air. Chocoholic, it's going to be a direct match for the miner, though. That's the difference. Comes in on the left-hand tower. I think Chocoholic's not even going to bother trying to save it. It's already so low. There's 10 seconds left for them to get the tower back.
Yeah, and with so much to gum up the way, it isn't enough to trade on back. And Will, using that miner effectively, does manage to pick up the win there. Great usage of it to sniping. You have to expect it when it's sitting on 200. He plays most of the round going, okay, we'll buy time, we'll play for time, we'll do whatever we need to do. And then as soon as Chocoholic invests on that right flank, as well, both of them were, he snipes that miner over to the left-hand side and picks up the game, bringing us to 1-1.
Oh boy, a 3-game series again. This is Will's first 3-game series of this season so far. So Chocoholic, they've lived up to a lot of potential in game number 1, but in game 2, when playing the same thing against Will, it felt like Will just had those few extra options they needed to get the job done.
Yeah, the execution from Will is always sublime. You got to be very careful. So a mirror matchup, and it was a perfect mirror matchup. Exact same lists there, not just same composition generally, but Chocoholic isn't able to edge out. And I think Will also has a lot of experience with Lava Loon, played a lot of times last season. It's not a surprise to see them come out on top here.
So for Chocoholic, the change here is going to be the Electro Wizard coming into the mix as they'll get zapped on the way up to the tower, but still get a hit through. Chocoholic, they've got to try and find a way to get their win here. Wall breakers, of course, very, very cheap, but always demand an answer.
That bandit stops the charge for the Prince for now, but not in its entirety. Needs to get this jump off. That's going to be a big bit of damage, but that Mega Knight is oh so tanky.
So we're going to see a very different game 3 than game number 2. It looks like air power has been neglected entirely, but Chocoholic instead is going to be bringing out Mega Knight with the Ram Rider. The Mega Knight will be able to buy a lot of space over on Will's side of the river, but doesn't stop the Rider from getting through.
Yeah, that Inferno Dragon, however, will make absolutely short work of it. And now Will is going to have to invest something or take a little bit more damage. Those wall breakers, fantastically used, but there it is, a good response from Chocoholic, and only 2 elixir.
Yeah, very nice cost for cost answer here. So we're seeing the big range in terms of elixir costs here. The cheapness of the zap and the wall breaker, the huge cost of the Mega Knight, and we're still 1 minute 30 before we start getting into that double elixir.
It's really interesting to see these Knight heavy comps from Will so far. He ran, I believe, Prince and Dark Knight, and now he's running Mega Knight and Prince. A lot of flexibility around them, and they do get that big hit in, but they need that opportunity to do so. Hunter makes short work of the Bandit, and now, with another push, both bringing Mega Knights to the table.
Yeah, Hunter's going to do massive damage if it survives, but it doesn't. It gets stomped, as it's going to be a clash of Mega Knights leaping into each other. But having that Inferno Dragon there, such an incredible answer to these big units.
Yeah, even with the Prince and the Tower, they're able to trade, well, pound for pound there. A good slow means that Prince isn't going to find all too much, and it makes short work of everything else. Wallbreaker's going along alongside. A good stun means they're able to stop that, but Wallbreaker does slip on through. Chocoholic is still ahead, but not by much.
We haven't had a chance to see So Provo yet, but certainly their spirit with us in this game as the Rider manages to get some good work done. We have got the counter-attack coming in. Mega Knight will disrupt their fellow Mega Knight and allow time for the Inferno Dragon to get the work through.
Prince comes on in, does get the hit onto the Mega Knight, but again, it's just so tanky. A good fireball to maybe try and keep things up as Chocoholic continues to pile on pressure to both sides.
So here, Chocoholic, strong defense there. The Miner is getting a lot of work done on the backside of this one, but as we head into overtime, we're looking pretty similar on the left, but overall, Chocoholic substantially ahead.
Yeah, very able to play around that as well. Nothing super small to try and take away that Prince, apart from this Bandit, which obviously can go invincible and completely chunk up all of that damage. And now that Mega Knight moving forward, there's the minions that I talked about earlier. So much aerial damage and a great way to counter it.
Yeah, and splitting up that Mega Minion into 3 bodies really helps with some of the counter. Make it much harder to do as the Wall Breakers will sneak in behind the Mega Knight. No, they're going to get snowballed, and the Mega Knight will finish them off. So as we head deeper in, Chocoholic got a lot of damage over on the right-hand tower as well. They are wearing Will down.
Yeah, slowly but surely, as much as they're playing more for this left, as soon as there's any sort of elixir discrepancy, putting that pressure onto the right-hand side and forcing them to a difficult situation. Bandit, again, going to tank up a bit of damage, but easily go down to the Hunter. That's a good fireball, so much damage, but this Inferno Dragon does not have much of an opportunity.
Yeah, we'll be getting caught up there, but again, the Mega Knight doing incredible defensive work for Chocoholic. The opposing Mega Knight just can't get past it, especially when there's so much coming up the ground. Miner will sneak past Chocoholic's defenses to get some damage in.
He does. That Mega Knight goes oh so low, but doesn't go down, and likely will get a jump in if not for that volley. We're again seeing these Ram Riders towards the right-hand side, putting that pressure on for a low price here. An Inferno Dragon to stop the Mega Knight. That just means that this left-hand side for Will was oh so open. And Chocoholic making a name for themselves here in week 1 takes down Will 2-1 and is in those grand finals already.
That is amazing stuff. I mean, Chocoholic, as you said, they were denied so often by the pair of Will and Mushroom, but now to take down Will, to hand them their first loss of the season, I mean, I don't know what Chocoholic's been doing in the off-season, but whatever it is, it's working.
Whatever kind of chocolate they've been having, I really want some. It's great to see, and oh so sweet to have a player that was struggling, honestly, with this top echelon of players really step up to the plate and show us really what they're made of.
All right, let's take a quick look back at how those games played out in the later sections. So this is game number 1. We see from Chocoholic, this is where they got their first surprise win, and they kept using those fireballs for direct damage.
Yeah, and it paid dividends. You can see again that there's so much invested to stop these pushes from the Royal Guards across multiple lanes, but also you can see that the balloon is such a problem as well. I'm surprised that bomb killed it at that range, but even if it wasn't, there was another fireball, another volley, another zap coming. So much direct damage for Chocoholic to play around with, and they had a lot of health left as well.
So here in game 2, we did see, of course, the aerial battle that Will was able to take the lead in. I think, you already get the idea here that you don't want to be trying to play this kind of game against Will with the same deck. They're just piloting their own aerial forces too strongly.
Absolutely some brilliant stuff, and while they were distracting, they put that miner over towards the left-hand side and picked off that little health, that low health tower. And again, getting gummed up. This time, Will is the one who wasn't expecting it.
So here in game 3, this is the Mega Knight game, but I think Will really felt like they were getting caught off guard by how much Chocoholic was being able to sneak damage through, especially when Will was the one running wall breakers.
Yeah, and they invested that Mega Knight towards that right-hand side to try and deal with something and maybe get a count push, and it really proved to be their demise as soon as they did. The Photo Dragon went down, very cheap response to that situation, and instantly Chocoholic went, all right, everything on the left. And they went all in, took down that tower, even a fireball for good measure, and it left Will, well, obviously winless in that round, and now down into that lower bracket.
So that means, yes, the Will in the lower bracket will face off against the winner of So Pro Bro and Mushroom. Will, of course, be coming back as soon as possible with the next round of competition, which will be Mushroom and So Pro Bro playing with bands of Hog Rider and Tornado. So stay tuned. Our next round coming up in just a few short moments' time. Welcome back, one and all, to the Amazon University Esports Clash Royale competition. It is, of course, in a strange new world which we've only visited once before, Chocoholic making it through to the grand finals, taking out Will. So we now need to see who's going to be facing Will in the lower bracket. Will it be Mushroom or SoProBro, who's coming onto the stream for the first time this evening?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they manage to adapt to the ban system. And, well, I mean, we've got their bans, so we do actually know they went exactly what I thought they would. Mushroom, pretty understandably, banned Hog Rider. Who could have guessed? And SoProBro went, right, get that tornado out of here. I don't want to deal with activated King Towers or none of that malarkey. So likely to bring something along those lines, or at least bait their opponents into thinking so.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you get a reputation. To be fair, people were already bringing out decks that were supposed to deal with the Hog Rider just because of how notorious SoProBro is for having played this deck. So I think at this point, for SoProBro, maybe it's a relief to not have to play it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're finally happy, like, oh, thank God, someone could stop me from playing the deck, which I just win with all the time. And SoProBro is now, well, trading snowballs and likely to play something more generic. They have been strong on that. They've had great graveyard decks, but so far they've got a low curve and could be looking towards that Hog Rider, that Hog Cycle deck, but maybe with Royal Hogs or even the Ram Riders you yourself suggested.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways to kind of just still play that deck, even if it isn't necessarily quite as optimized as before. Mushroom looks like, though, they will be playing it pretty low to the ground as the cannon cart comes up from SoProBro. So that is going to gum up the ground, but you have got the bats up in the air trying to deal damage. They're not doing enough, though, as the balloon drops.
Lots of ways to gum up the ground. Mushroom has played nearly all of their cards already. The balloon does get pretty much chewed up and spat out by the archers. A great way to be able to deal with that. But that cannon cart on the right-hand side found a lot of damage, and that's what happened when it gets to hit home.
Yeah, there was just too much there for Mushroom to be able to deal with. So, yeah, if the balloon isn't going to get through, if there's too many answers already from SoProBro, then, yeah, Mushroom's going to be in trouble in game one.
Well, you can see that, for the most part, Mushroom hasn't shown their way to be able to win out the game. It's likely it's something along the lines of either a Royal Giant or a Graveyard here, so they have a lot of flexibility, whereas SoProBro, there's a lot still left in those 3 remaining cards.
I'm amazed they've played so few cards at this point, but you know, it's working pretty darn well. The Hunter from Mushroom is certainly going to give them a lot of punch on the ground to be able to deal with some of these SoPro mysteries.
Indeed they will. I think it's probably a removal card left. Maybe a big spell for Mushroom here, something along the lines of Poison. Wouldn't be a huge surprise to see here, but SoProBro with 10 Elixir could show us what they've got, or maybe just, you know, keep on keeping on. As so far, they still haven't shown us those 2 remaining cards.
Yeah, playing it very close to their chest. Of course, it may just be those cards aren't particularly good for this particular matchup as the bomb tower comes down. But that's one of the mysteries solved. Another way to keep the balloons from the door.
Yeah, a great way, and stops that bomb that the balloon drops from being too much of a problem. And we're talking about SoProBro and their ability to play these more meta decks. There it is. There's the graveyard. Gets a bit of damage on in, and they continue to be ahead. But there's a lot of units from Mushroom now amassed on that right-hand side.
I do like having the bats here as a big push for Mushroom. Might get through the balloon again up in the air, but again the bomb tower is there. You have to get through that first, and you've got a Mega Minion wailing away on the balloon, taking most of its health before it even gets close.
Indeed it is, and that cannon cart, oh, just about pipped at the post before it can get to hit on that tower, just about at a range. We'll at least get rid of that Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, when that cannon cart manages to get into tower range, it's so much extra value as we now have the full details here. The bats, I think, are just slightly out of position. The Royal Delivery will deal with most of that graveyard. Mushroom, though, is taking a lot of damage on the right-hand side, and they're not bringing a ton back out to make a counter push.
Yeah, they invested so much there. The Hunter went down as well to clear out that graveyard, and they really need to get a big push off the back of this because they don't have a lot of health left, and they are down Elixir. Cannon cart comes on through. The Fisherman, you're all too happy to have that bring it up towards you, but SoProBro does get it completely chunked out. That Hunter will finish it in short order. Those bats completely distracted now. The bomb tower again to stop that balloon.
You see that Mega Minion there, the main form of anti-air along with those archers, but it's still enough along with that bomb tower distraction. Mushroom Musty starting to get a little frustrated here. Their inability to get the damage through. That's another graveyard forces their hand.
Yeah, a good fireball as well, but snowball response means that they aren't able to take down this tower just yet. It's really down to Mushroom to set the pace and strike back now as they pump out yet another balloon.
So there's the fisherman. Will be pulling the cannon cart across the river, which will open a little bit more space up for the balloon, but the snowball will knock it away. And while the miner does get some damage down the right-hand tower for Mushroom, they are really struggling to get their damage home.
Indeed they are. Needs another bomb tower now to SoProBro to be able to deal with this. But there it is, and you can see that the balloon just can't find a thing. The graveyard comes on out. The Royal Delivery did not go onto that backline. The bats might be able to make short work of it. But there's a snowball to try and deny back. So much damage, so little time, and no way that you're going to be able to pick this up here for Mushroom as the overtime is just about to expire. And, well, we can tell that SoProBro has a massive advantage right now.
Yeah, very, very nicely done, and by the end of that one, not even that close. I think, you know, even if the game had gone longer, as we've seen in the previous times, SoProBro, you could tell they very much had control of that first game.
They really did, and Mushroom just unable to stop that damage. Those chunks that were really coming out from SoProBro did strike back towards the end there, but they were just too far gone. And you really got to be careful because SoProBro is a master of finding bits of chip damage. You normally think with an aggro deck, you're like, I want to get hit in here and completely destroy people. It's not like the Elixir Golem. He's happy to play those slower games, and I think that's a really big part of what makes him such a strong player.
I have to wonder if we might start seeing the Earthquake coming in here from Mushroom. That Bomb Tower was just so good, as would all be the other buildings, in trying to keep the, you know, the balloon from getting any kind of good value. As Mushroom, we're going to bring out the baby dragon. Maybe they're switching back to air again.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty strong. It's a good tactic, but I love that they've been bringing the Royal Delivery to be able to deal with some of these big groups, and SoProBro feeling a little bit stressed out by it, as we can see by the emote usage. That's the real analysis that has to go down. Emote usage, how are the players feeling? But right now, both players pretty happy to trade units back and forth and showing their hands a lot more than we saw in Game 1.
Yeah, they're both playing pretty cheap decks, certainly SoProBro in particular. Only 2 cards left to be seen as the Musketeer joining the Baby Dragon. It's the top end for Mushroom right now. It looks like we'll be seeing these little tiny trays to start things off as looks like SoProBro is going to go for the bats to back up the wall breakers. There's the bomb tower for Mushroom. Doesn't trade anywhere near as well against those wall breakers.
Indeed, it doesn't. SoProBro with still 2 cards left to show, and I mean, if they're playing a chip deck, this is seeming pretty good. But that means they have a couple more responses left in their hand. Maybe something like the Fireball or even an Earthquake, like we said before, if they're expecting some kind of spawners. But with the nerf onto the Barbarian Hut, we haven't seen all too much from spawners. Maybe a Furnace or 2, but not much else.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a pretty substantial nerf, and it seems like it has changed a lot. You're right. We were seeing Barbarian Hut pretty much everywhere before as, wow, okay, there's the big hit from SoProBro, but that's immediately drawing out the answer that we have still got the bomb tower from SoProBro, but I think a couple of skeletons are sneaking through.
They are. They found a little bit of damage, but it won't be the be-all, end-all. SoProBro is still happy to play those longer games and has a lot of responses to try and deal with it, be it the log, maybe those goblins who were able to chuck some of those spears on in to deal with it. There's a lot of ways that SoProBro can deal with this problem.
So again, this best of 3 being played to advance further in the competition. This is the second loss for one of these players in this series, which will send them out of the competition for the winner. Will CR is waiting in the lower bracket finals, eventually carrying on the face-off against Chocoholic with their first ever advancing into the finals with an upper bracket win.
Yeah, I love that the poison is coming out from Mushroom here. It's strong, it does double duty against that bomb tower as well, and it's a fantastic way to chip out your opponents in the late game. And you know, if you're going up against SoProBro, unless he brings out something like the Elixir Golem deck, you're often going to the late game.
Yeah, so the poison is certainly fulfilling a lot of that same function as the Earthquake we were wondering about before. As yep, you said it. Yeah, it's all about the chip damage as the graveyard comes in. The Knight will be soaking a lot of the aggro, letting the skeletons sneak through and get a couple of good hits in.
but not all too much. Again, those goblins fantastic at dealing with that situation and do so with aplomb. Speaking of a bomb, well, those wall breakers come on in but are stopped by a Royal delivery just in the nick of time.
You can see that both these players keeping a lot of their elixir back with these cheap units, especially now in overtime. If they've got the elixir, they can deploy several units out very quickly. In the graveyard, there's still SoPro with the ability to react here, but they're not doing it quite quickly enough. Those goblins, pointed out before, they're taking out most of the skeletons, but not all.
They're a very cost-effective answer to it for only 2 elixir. You can even pump out a knight as well. We saw that from SoPro earlier. So much to try and back things up. A musketeer to back up these very tanky units. Unfortunately, they're dispatched with quick, and a brilliant fireball means that it's gone, and it's only the baby dragon left. Those goblins already ready to deal with skeletons and baby dragon alike.
Pushed on the left-hand side from SoPro. Counter push. The Royal delivery does clear the way, but that left-hand tower is looking pretty darn low. Advantage SoPro right now. If they win here, they stay in the competition, and Mushroom exits.
Yeah. Graveyards again, so many of them coming out here from Mushroom, but oh, that's a great one. Loads of damage. And with the poison, they're going oh so low. They have to be careful on that left-hand side. The wall breaker just about doesn't slam on in, as that Royal delivery makes it in the nick of time.
And the Knight taking the aggro from the Miner, really, really important. Every piece of damage works as the poison ticking away. Definitely this is Mushroom's wheelhouse. The bats coming in. You can see that SoPro is trying to go for the kill shot here. Up in the air, they bring the Miner through as well. And the fireball, and Mushroom is gone.
Pipped at the post. That graveyard coming in likely would have done it for Mushroom, but SoPro snipes it away, and in a game of nickel and dimes, SoPro comes out ahead, even with that $sign in his name.
Oh boy, I mean, you know, the University of Dundee student, certainly coming into last season, SoPro had the weight of expectation behind them. Wasn't actually able to attend the finals in the end, so we never got the real answer of whether or not SoPro was in fact able to take down the field. But getting the win against Mushroom, getting a 2-0 win against Mushroom as well, and progressing to face off against Will, we're going to start to hopefully get a more definitive answer.
I was longing to see it, and I'm oh so excited as well. You can see from these games that we have replays of that, well, this top 4, it's the same players, but it's not the exact same situation. This time SoPro taking down Mushroom, famed for their consistency as they just slip up and get caught off guard by a big graveyard here.
Yeah, so, you know, in this game number 1, you can see that by the end of it, I mean, in this case, you know, as much as in game number 2, it was close. In this case, you know, SoPro looked extremely comfortable and winning out, you know, as you can see there, with 654 health spare.
Yeah, so much to work with, and this push here was absolutely brilliant. You can see that Mushroom tries to get something back, puts down that baby dragon and invests that graveyard, but it just isn't enough. Those bats stop the Knight. These wall breakers try to slam on in, and I believe they do actually manage to get there, if not for the Royal delivery. But it has the fireball in the back pocket, and SoPro, he knows how to use these effectively, and alongside that Miner, it's easy pickings.
Yeah, it felt for me like, you know, the bats were really the decisive factor there. It just wasn't an easy, cost-efficient answer. You know, we saw that the Knight could take the Miner's aggro, but when it came to the bats, you just didn't have anything to keep them from coming in. And just like those skeletons from the graveyard, a surprisingly high amount of damage if they get time with the tower.
Yeah, it's also really difficult to deal with them because there's not a huge amount of air-to-air, anti-air group damage. Obviously, that baby dragon, but if you place down that baby dragon, if SoPro is playing around it, it's so difficult to deal with them. There's like a whole bunch of them that just seemingly can't be dealt with and gets a lot of damage on things like the Knight, like you mentioned. It just chews through it very quickly and means that the rest of your units that are looking to hit that tower can get it oh so quickly.
So guys, we have our lower bracket grand finals. WillCR against SoPro. A rivalry, certainly, which has been ticking away in the previous season, now gets a chance to be born anew. So, we'll be taking a short break while we do get ready for that. Our thanks again to our sponsors, Unite Students, Logitech G, and Twitch Student for making things possible here today. We'll be back with you in a few short minutes' time with that lower bracket finals, and then, of course, afterwards, the grand finals themselves. Welcome back, everyone, and it's now time for our lower bracket grand final. So Pro versus Will. This is one of the matches we've been waiting for all competition. And of course, CPL Chocoholic waiting in the grand finals for whoever comes out ahead of this best of 3.
I always get excited when we see the top 4 in this tournament. And So Pro Will is just another in a long line of absolutely fantastic matchups. I'm so excited to see So Pro as well show that they are a force to be reckoned with, even with these bans. Didn't need to play the hog, just pure outplayed Mushroom in those previous games, and well, looking to do the exact same thing to Will here.
So we've got a new game and a new set of bans. So what have So Pro and Will decided they don't want to see in the lower bracket grand finals?
Well, Will is, taking a bit of a recency bias approach. Doesn't worry about the hog. He's taken it down before, to be fair, and decides, I'm going to take away Fireball, a key part of a lot of the decks that So Pro likes playing, and a big part of why they were able to pick up their 2 wins in the last series. So not a huge surprise. So Pro, though, is going to take out Balloon, which is always a thorn in his side.
Yeah, no, we've seen just taking out one part of that Lava Loon equation seems like it works pretty well to stymie those decks from working. So we're fascinated to see, particularly we haven't seen the Fireball ban before, so to see what that now allows or disallows in terms of play.
Yeah, I think it's on the same line of kind of that Sparky's ban that we saw from Chocoholic. It's a strong piece, and taking it away from your opponent, especially if they're good with it, does a world of good for you. So I really like that ban, and I think actually taking it away against So Pro, who's always been fantastic with it, is not a huge surprise. Often 2-for-1s with it, and if he doesn't get that kind of value out of it, maybe it's not going to be able to push him over the line, especially in a matchup against a great player like Will.
You can see here, Will goes for the early shot and gets it, but that's the hogs you mentioned from before as a possible replacement. It seems like maybe So Pro deciding to switch away from the Rider with the expectation the Hog Rider would be banned every game anyway.
I have the big question to ask here: is 5 hogs better than 1? And I mean, a lot of people have been running Royal Hogs as of late. It's not a huge surprise to see him, and even bringing out that Electro Spirit, it's a very strong unit and helps keep that cost way, way down. And well, it's not a surprise to see it. The Earthquake coming out here for So Pro.
And also slipping through the Electro Spirit. So we're seeing So Pro, mixing things up a little bit against Will here, as the Hogs will be going through once more. They won't be fully answered there. The Skeleton Dragon's doing a good amount of AoE, but the Hogs, they're getting time with a left-hand tower.
Yeah, they're absolutely going ham on it. But you have to be careful because this long-time threat of that Lava Loon, which was just marching up that right-hand side, maybe caught So Pro a little bit unawares. And now there's a lot of damage going on. Those Goblins are doing a good job with a volley. It's going to be down to just the Hunter to clean things up.
So yeah, I mean, if we're talking about straight swaps out for that banned Fireball, the arrows seem like they do the job pretty well, but it's still maybe not going to be enough as, oh, well, there we go, a Tide of Barbarians. That will deal extremely well with the Hogs.
Yeah, and Will has been always a big proponent of just, straight Barbarians, not necessarily the Hut, but they're still as strong as ever. So Will able to bring those to the fore and great at dealing with some of those larger groups of things that are kind of medium health, and Hogs are exactly that. So really good adaptation from them here.
Alright, so coming into 1 minute remaining of regular time, we see another Lava Hound up in the air as Electro Spirit will buy a little bit of extra space for those Goblins to get through and put some damage down, but the Flying Machine now backing up the Lava Hound. This is a strong push from Will.
Yeah, but if those Royal Hogs get to bear, they could be a big problem. Luckily, that cage is in the back to be able to stop them from finding all too much. A good volley, but that Hunter doesn't get enough to clear it out. They have to bring a second. A lot of elixir invested here, and with the backup as well, and that push on the right-hand side from the Miner, this is a good bit of damage for Will here.
The attack is evaporated, and here we go for So Pro once again. We're very close to time here as the Earthquake comes down. We thought we'd seen this from before, but now it's going to get through. Barely any time left. Will just about holds onto the left-hand tower, but it's only going to be 1 Earthquake away.
He knows he has to go for it. He invests everything. He's going for the big all-in. But unfortunately, that Royal delivery was massive. So much damage. You can see the good game coming out. Will knows he's beaten on this one because that Earthquake, all the Hogs, and everything were ready to deal with them. And now Will finds themselves down 1-0 again. Do you think there's a possibility we don't see last season's champion make it to the finals here?
I mean, I think anything can happen now. You know, we're in this new season as far as the Mules competition goes here. So, you know, the changes have been made. I think for SoProBro, you know, missing out on even the chance to play in last season's finals, I think it's got a sting for them. So it seems like they're bringing out the big guns to try and make sure they've got the best chance of qualifying once again and truly getting a chance to call themselves champion.
They really are on the warpath. And, I mean, Will, not looking like they're going to be able to stop them here. They've got another chance to stake their claim. But I think, obviously, we're going to have to see them change things up and maybe prep for, again, hog-based decks from SoProBro.
Doesn't seem like, you know, there was enough this time round to deal with them, as we see a nice split of the wall breakers. It looks like Will's going to be playing some of the cheaper stuff. We've got the Goblins there, as well as a Barbarian Barrel Hunter from SoProBro. Looks like we're going to again see some aggro towards those buildings from SoPro.
That cannon cart is great to deal with that Hunter and is likely going to make it onto the other side, but a Knight comes down just in time to stop it. And they will be able to make short work of that one, and now a push, a very weak push, but a push nonetheless onto this right-hand side.
Yeah, those Goblin Spears will be able to get a good amount of damage done, and the Mortar! This is something that Will was bringing out in the previous season and used in the last game of the finals to win the whole thing. This time around, gets taken out very, very quickly, but if unanswered, that Mortar can end up being pretty terrifying.
I think the problem is that if you're playing as SoProBro, you're not expecting that Mortar to go unanswered. Loves the Earthquake, we can see it here, they brought it out and stretched it all the way across to hit both the tower and that Mortar. The placement of these spells for SoProBro is absolutely sublime.
And it's not good news for Will that the Earthquake's in the mix when they've got the cannon cart as well, which turns itself into a building after it dies. As a defensive deployment of the Mortar will mean it'll last, well, I say last a little bit longer. It will at least soak up a little bit more aggro there and allow for Will to stay healthy.
It is SoProBro and Will both still got one card in the back pocket. Could be something like a graveyard maybe for Will, but maybe that'd be a little bit too expensive. SoProBro keeping their composition very low to the ground, but they're still lacking that one threat we were kind of talking about before. It's either that or a big, big control piece.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how these two players finish out the lineup, as the cannon will get just to the other side of the river before being ripped up by the counter-attack Hunter and Knight going forward. No big hits as of yet. The Earthquake, it will also take out the Mortar while getting in some extra damage and allowing for that Miner to get the lead for SoPro.
Yep, exactly where they want to find themselves. That Earthquake is absolutely fantastic for them. Bomb Tower is that final remaining card, that big control piece I was talking about. And again, the cannon cart stopped before we can get onto another side. An important point for both of these players.
So one of the things which I'm looking for from the Mortars here is they've got an enormous range, but their projectile speed is so slow. You can see there. So it's going to be a pretty tricky trade. I think we'll come out just about alive. So that Mortar should be able to get one or two more shots off before falling over.
But it hasn't found all too much damage onto these towers, and they do find themselves behind. No opportunities for SoProBro so far to actually just completely take out a tower. But again, this nickel and dime playstyle is SoProBro to a T.
We've got good damage on the right-hand tower of Will, in particular, as the bomb tower will be used to lock down the right-hand bridge. The Mortar finally gets a shot through, and now we're into overtime. Maybe there's enough floating elixir to put some direct damage down. Poison will open up proceedings.
Well, and it's a good way to try and get some of that damage down. Not a huge amount of direct damage from SoProBro this time. No Fireball, no such fun for them. They have the Earthquake instead, but it doesn't really do the same, and it's not quite as active, and it's not quite as proactive as sometimes you can get it to be against some of those units, so 2-for-1ing with it is a little harder.
Yeah, I mean, we're praising SoProBro for being able to use that Earthquake for maximum value. Now just looking for raw damage, as the Wall Breakers will again demand an answer. The Mortar, though, but just by being a building is an answer in of itself, will get Earthquaked away, but it's getting good value for what it is.
Really is soaking up a lot of damage. At least 5 elixir taken to try and deal with it there. But there it is, that last remaining card. Will has that big piece to try and finish things off with the graveyard here, but it's mostly getting chewed up. Still finds a lot of damage off the back of that poison as well. Might even take the tower, yeah, down to 3 digits.
Very nice play there from Will, but there's similar damage on the right-hand side from So Pro Bro. So the cannon cart drops down to try and make a further push. We are deep into overtime here. There's a ton of elixir, but there's also going to be a ton of threat on the tower. It's down to 126. Will has to make the play stick, but they can't do it. And it's going to be 2-0 for So Pro. They're going to the finals, and our Season 2 champion, Will get knocked out before that even happens.
An impressive performance of So Pro Bro. No hog, no problem. I didn't even run it there, to be completely fair with you. And no fireball, no problem as well, proving that even with that, they've got other spells they can use. The Earthquake suits them just fine. Will tried to go tit for tat there, but unfortunately couldn't quite manage to take them down. And So Pro Bro making a real run through the slow bracket.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, everyone that's in Season 2, our last season, was terrified of So Pro Bro. But let's take a look back at how they managed to take Will to pieces here. A feat that not many people can say that they've done.
Yeah, and it was just, honestly, fantastic play across the board with some great ways to deal direct damage. And those hogs, man, they really did show up. And maybe he's deciding to switch up for a season. Last season, it was just a hog rider. This time, he's bringing more. And, well, he's out with for a vengeance.
Yeah, we saw that. You can see just how different the health is on the left-hand towers. That game wasn't even a little bit close.
Yeah, stellar play. This one, a lot closer. But in the end, it was some fantastic usage of these spells that allowed them to get oh so close here and actually pick up the round, even though they have a health deficit at the start here.
I'm still a little bit torn on the mortars. They felt like they had a lot of potential, but I think the difference maker here for So Pro Bro, as you saw just there, the Earthquake, fantastic, comboed together with the Wall Breakers, and suddenly you've got threats which is just incredibly hard to answer. You can't put down a building because it will get earthquaked. And the Wall Breakers will do the same as well.
And it's not even like the mortar's a great answer. It does deal with some of those smaller groups together. Maybe it was trying to deal with the Royal Hogs themselves. But it just never felt like it got a chance to clear away things in the way it wanted to. So I do agree with you. I think it really does struggle to have the right kind of effect.
That does mean that we now have our finalists for the day. So remember, with our friend Chocoholic managing to get through and win out the winners bracket, they do get a free win in the best of 5 coming up. So they've got their chance. First time they've made it through the winners bracket, and first time they're coming in with the 1 game advantage up against So Pro though, who's looked outside of the the opening rounds where they get put down to the lower bracket. They've looked incredibly dominant. Rook, how are you feeling about Chocoholic's chances of getting their first tournament win?
I'm really excited for Chocoholic. I think they're a very strong player, but I've seen a situation like this before. So Pro Bro going into those grand finals with absolutely nothing to lose. Obviously a game down, but the last time we saw it from them, it was a straight 3-0 from them. Obviously had that loss already, so it was a 3-1, but a dominant performance from them when they made it to the finals in the very same week as well, week 1 of last season. I think this is looking like it might be history repeating itself.
Alright guys, so we have one more match remaining this evening. The grand finals between Chocoholic and the terrifying So Pro Bro. The Amazon University Esports Clash Royale competition will return in just a few short minutes time, so make sure you're ready. The finals coming up. Welcome back, one and all. It's the match you've been waiting for. So Pro Bro versus Chocoholic, our grand finals, best of 5. The biggest opportunity for Chocoholic so far in 2 seasons to get their first tournament win. They were denied every single time last season. But So Pro Bro is here to claim the throne. Just as you said, Rook, this is the last opponent you want to be going up against in the finals.
Absolutely, So Pro Bro is a clutch meister, and I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise if he starts off strong here. He has looked so good in his last couple of games, and well, Chocoholic has a little bit of time to cool down. Have they kept those fingers nice and warm? What we're about to see.
So an early exchange. It looks to be that So Pro Bro is going to be playing again at the cheaper units. You can see that the Ice Spirit actually wants to sneak through as the Chocoholic goes for the Ram Rider. Looks like they're going to show So Pro Bro how it's done.
Indeed they are. They liked the Ram Rider early on in this tournament, and I mean, to great effect, actually found a lot of damage on those split pushes. It'll be interesting to see if they can, well, succeed with those split pushes against the Split Push Master.
Yeah, it's quite a thing to go up against someone who knows every in and out, every trick in the book when it comes to the particular deck you're playing. But we'll see, Chocoholic, it's a big ask here. They've still got that 1 game advantage, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. So they only have to win 2 times total, whereas So Pro Bro has to win 3 in a row.
Yeah, it is going to be log bait, I believe, from both sides. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Princess come out from Chocoholic here. Looks like, for the most part, what they're going for, a Poison revealed here. Not a too lower cost deck. It does seem like So Pro Bro has the advantage on that side, is maybe looking to push it, as they haven't wasted anywhere near as much Elixir as Chocoholic and have that bit of extra damage on the tower to show for it.
And it seems like Chocoholic, yeah, is, you know, as you pointed out, that leaked Elixir very high, seeming like they're holding back their answers to try and make sure they've got the right thing to bring out when So Pro Bro makes their move.
They are. It's good to be careful, and So Pro Bro, if there is an opening, you know he's going to take it. So it's interesting to see that kind of investment. The Mega Knight coming out here, and a lot of damage coming onto that right-hand tower. Already Chocoholic maybe at odds with the aggression that So Pro Bro is putting on.
So we've not seen it yet, but we might still be. The Tesla, most often seen in conjunction with the Expo here, we noted has been changed. But no, the Rocket instead, it's a big hitter, takes out the Dragon at the same time as hitting the tower.
It is going to leave them at about 12k health. Ram Rider just cannot find their way on in. Those Tesla towers being right a royal pain in the bottom for Chocoholic right now. Cannot find their way on in at all.
Slight mistiming there on the Mega Knight dropping means there's some more damage on the Chocoholic's right-hand tower. Whereas Chocoholic themselves, they are still looking for that big push. The Tesla, it's doing a fantastic job of getting in the way. We haven't seen it used by itself this far, or rather in the previous season, but it's working spectacularly for So Pro right now.
Yes, doing a fantastic job, meaning that basically you just can't see that push coming from Chocoholic. If it does, it gets pulled towards the middle, and with only a 4 cost building, it's great usage for it. It even slows down some of those things which want to look for those charges or move in very quickly with that micro stun coming on through. A push towards the left does mean Chocoholic is going to have to do something about it. No, they're not investing at all. They're just taking the damage on the chin and looking for a right-hand side push. But again, Tesla Tower means it's oh so difficult to make that push happen.
And I'd love to see the Mega Knight, you know, it's so tanky. I'd love to see it getting some backup from some other units just to get maximum value out of that tankiness, as the barrel will clear out the right-hand side, but not quite managing to catch that last Goblin. So Pro Bro is within range, I think, of taking the tower down entirely. And yeah, chips away very quickly and barely into overtime, manages to equalize the score 1-1.
Pressure, pressure, pressure is the name of So Pro Bro's game, and starts off exactly as we expected to see from them. Instantly looks for that Hail Mary play with those spells coming on in, and, well, Chocoholic finds themselves already evened up on, and now, well, that advantage they had, maybe not looking so good. They do now have an opportunity to play around with the decks, maybe try and catch So Pro Bro off guard, and obviously that first game could have just been information collecting.
I mean, you know, you've got to use that advantage somehow, but I wonder, you know, we'll be seeing the Earthquake coming through again. You know, it's hard to tell with So Pro Bro. Much like Will, they've proven themselves a very adaptable player from those initial criticisms of SoPro, they can only play Hog Rider, to now suddenly being, we have no idea what SoPro is going to bring out in the next game at all.
Absolutely. And I mean, we didn't get to cover it very quickly, but Hog has actually been banned away by Chocoholic, pretty understandable. But P.E.K.K.A getting taken away by SoPro here. And we were kind of talking about that at the start, but actually a ban that SoPro does feel is worth taking away in this situation.
Well, let's all quake in our boots as we're seeing matching earthquakes from both sides. So, looks like Chocoholic's not happy with the idea of getting caught out by buildings again. We'll still go back to the big units. This time it's the Skeleton Giant rather than the Mega Knight.
Indeed, it is. Skeleton Giant we've seen a couple of times, at least once today, but in previous seasons as well. Sometimes, though, it can get gummed up. These skeletons themselves are so great at dealing with it, because it just means you can completely stonewall, but it seems like it's double giant, double time for Chocoholic here, as they're already looking to make a massive push.
Royal Giant, I think he's going to bully its way through it. Even getting one shot off with the Giant's Cannon is enough. The Zappies, we've seen them be banned out before. They do a pretty good job of answering most stuff. And they're going to survive to get through and maybe get a hit of their own.
Yeah, no, not quite. We're going to see those skeletons become a bit of a problem, and, well, the goblins back it up as well. The Royal Hogs, there they are. A Bob Barrel trying to chew through some of that health, but it's the Hunter who does most of the work there. A little bit of chip coming through from SoPro Bro, but they are down health, at least in terms of individual tower.
Yeah, and I like the Hunter here. I mean, it seems like a solid answer. It's not, the instant answer, which maybe you'd hope for, but it does at least answer Elixir for Elixir, even slightly ahead. So, checking in on the health value. SoPro Bro slightly behind on the left-hand side. You said the Skeleton Giant is going to struggle to make progress into SoPro Bro's half, but it's also very hard to get past it itself.
Yeah, it is quite big, but you know who has absolutely no issue with getting by a Skeleton Giant? It's the Hogs. They just jump over the water and instantly make their way on in a good log there. That has bought a lot of space for that Hunter to find a lot of damage too.
So the Zappies will be able to sneak themselves through. I think not quite get the shot off, but it's going to be double giant push again. This is such a big commitment, and this is going to leave Chocoholic's defenses down. The Barrel and the Hunter there to answer the Hogs, and it's looking like the Giants might be able to get through. The Hunter of SoPro Bro pulled away by the Fisherman. There's the Earthquake and the Royal Giant damage.
Yeah, they're going to be able to eventually deal with that Hunter. Slowed up, does finally manage to get rid of that Fisherman. But for the most part, SoPro Bro not coming out on top on that trade. Looking for another counterpunch, but as soon as they see the Royal Giant, they invest the Hogs, and there is the Hunter waiting. They were too quick on the gun there.
I love the answer of the Fisherman to protect these Giants. You see, each time the Giants come through, immediately there's the answer there with the Hunter. But this time the Hogs on the left-hand side means that the Fisherman will not pull away the Hunter, and it's going to chew those Giants to pieces.
Yeah, that's a great investment there, and that means that they do get some damage on that right-hand tower. SoPro Bro is trying to keep themselves in it. They have 1:40 to play with. They know how to play the long game, but unfortunately, that Royal Giant is just wailing on the tower, and with the backup of an Earthquake, it's too easy for Chocoholic to take them down. And Chocoholic, using SoPro Bro's, not quite namesake, but a very strong card that they made a name for with themselves, with that Earthquake.
Yeah, it works really, really well. We thought maybe, we could end up in a bit of a bait situation where ultimately, we don't have buildings, but as we saw there, it's still a worthwhile card, even if you're just using it on the towers, just as that bit of damage. But for me, the real thing that surprised me the most was how effective that giant combo was together. Yeah,
I'm often shocked to see people running two different types of giants. Obviously, it's a lot of investment. It's very expensive. It can gum up your cycle that you're looking for. And, I mean, these two giants, when put down together, obviously they have a lot of health, but that skeleton does what you don't see from the Royal Giant. The Royal Giant, obviously, like every other giant, prioritizes the tower. Skeleton Giant, he's a bit more caring and cares about the little guy, the little units in front of him, and does clear them quite well as well. So allows that path ready to be made.
All right, for Chocoholic, they're one game away from doing a thing which they'd never managed to do in the previous season, which is actually get a tournament win. This will be huge for our University of Excellence student, the SoPro Bro. They've got the weight of expectation on their shoulders. They have had all last season, and they do this season as well. Even JJ Legend, our Season 1 champion, was shouting out SoProBro as a player to watch coming into Season 2. And I think that remains the case here in Season 3.
Absolutely. Oh, so deadly and ready to just jump on any opportunity they give them. But so far, Chocoholic not giving all too many opportunities, instead finding their own ones through fantastically brute force. Maybe the Royal Giant again here, but we do at least see the Skeleton Giant coming on out.
And it's going to be able to tank up a lot of the damage. We've again got the Fisherman combo there to try and keep those Giants safe from the Hunters. As we saw in the last one, it's very tricky to make sure that goes through successfully, as it will be matching Earthquakes. It's looking like we're almost going to see a rematch of last time round.
It is. Maybe this time SoProBro is a little bit more ready for something a little bit more, for exactly what Chocoholic is bringing. But, I mean, Chocoholic still hasn't shown their cards. They might still not have that Royal Giant. It could be swapped out for something like the Graveyard. You can just use this Skeleton Giant to put pressure on and to answer some of these bigger threats. But it's a good question. They still have that Earthquake, so it does belie they could be.
So, matching Earthquake, and the Wall Breaker does manage to get through, so that's a good amount of damage on the right-hand side. Chocoholic, you know, while these fights have looked decent for them, they haven't been converting into damage, and the answer is presented. Royal Giant still in the mix.
Indeed it is. Chocoholic sticking to their guns. It won them the last round. Why wouldn't it win them this one? But those Wall Breakers slipping through means they are on the back foot. They're going to have to be the one to put these answers up rather than playing more defensive game because they had that health advantage. Now, SoProBro with the bomb tower as well. This is great to see. This is going to divert the attention of the Royal Giant and make a world of difference here.
Does mean that there's Earthquake value. So there we go. The double Royal Giant. We saw it before. It didn't work out terribly well the first time, but this time it will be breaking through. The bomb tower slightly too late, and that's going to equalize things and actually pull Chocoholic ahead.
Yeah, a great play from Chocoholic and a blunder from SoProBro to let that happen. Miner goes on in, wants to try and bring things back to even, but the Earthquake is a little bit of a problem there. It does mean they're now down to 700. The Sparky's pushing. Maybe some backup from Chocoholic. They could easily even that back on up, but they're playing the longer game. They don't want to overextend off the back of just a couple of units.
The Skeleton Giant won't be able to take the aggro of the Miner, and the Earthquake drops again. Chocoholic dangerously low here, as the University of Dundee students SoProBro so close to bringing us back to 2-2 to bring it to a final game.
The Miner's back on it. You see the Sparky's trying to deny, but there it is, another Earthquake. It doesn't quite manage to deal enough damage on its own and doesn't finish things off. You can see the Royal Giant wailing on the tower. Just one spell is all they need. A couple more hits. They're finding the damage. Just 2 more shots, I believe, from that Royal Giant will do it. It does snipe it out. 84 HP. Chocoholic, just by the skin of their teeth, picks up a win 3-1 here over SoProBro.
For the first time in multiple seasons, our University of Exeter student manages to win the whole darn thing. That has got to feel amazing for them. And the end of that last game, incredible, down to the absolute wire.
Yeah, stellar performance, honestly. And I'm so happy to see Chocoholic pick up week 1 here. I thought SoProBro, that first win really could have them on the ropes. But Chocoholic making a statement and saying, this season I'm not here to play, I'm here to win. Yeah,
I mean, that's such a combo breaker for Chocoholic. To think, that they just couldn't manage to do it, only managing to even get to a finals one time the previous season, let alone win it. So let's take a look back at this series. Of course, Chocoholic came in with the 1-game advantage, but oh boy, I mean, when SoProBro managed to pull even in this match, it felt like we were on the path for a SoProBro sweep, as you mentioned before.
Absolutely. It was a really well-played game. Those Tesla Towers, what a shocking performance. And we haven't seen much of them, and they really did show up in dragging away aggro, and great play from SoProBro. Always has spectacular placement. And those spells, the rocket in the back pocket for SoProBro there, did pick them up the win. And you see these Hogs trying to be aggressive here, but because they get split, they don't find enough damage. And instead, well, we see an absolute house of a push coming through here from Chocoholic.
Yeah, and it was all these Giants, I think, that was a big unexpected thing from a Chocoholic here. The Royal Giants, they, even if they were only getting the one shot through, it was still a ton of damage. And particularly as well, the Earthquake being re-added to Chocoholic's deck meant that even if there had been Teslas there, they wouldn't have worked anywhere near as well.
Yeah, they just don't get that same kind of effect. And I think Super Bro sensibly taking him out of this deck for the second and third games. You can see here the Miner going to the back. The Sparkies just barely stop it. But the inexorable tide of these Royal Giants, they keep on pushing. They keep on trucking, finding so much damage here off the back. This Earthquake, it's going to be just enough damage to be able to take it on through. And Super Bro must be kicking themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you can see down to 84 health on that right-hand tower. That was all. I thought it was definitely going to game 5 there, but Chocoholic, they saw what we couldn't. They saw the opportunity there, no matter how narrow the window, and they managed to get it 3-1. That is a great way to start off the season.
Absolutely stellar for Chocoholic, and I mean, here's to many more. Very excited to see that, but unfortunately, that is the end of week 1 of Amazon University Esports Clash Royale. Well, of course, this was brought to you by Logitech G, world's best-selling gaming gear, and of course, it also wouldn't be so possible without the support of Unite Students, who obviously provide student accommodation across 25 cities with free cancellation. Book your room for 2021 and 22 today. Don't forget also that tomorrow we have CSGO on here, and over the rest of the week we have League of Legends and Rainbow Six Siege on Wednesdays, Teamfight Tactics on Thursdays, and Women's League of Legends on Fridays.
If any of you guys watching haven't already, please do check out the Newell Discords at discord.gg/thenewell. And there's lots and lots of stuff there. You can meet, if you haven't gone to university yet, you can meet other people and get to know them before you do. There's also the Newell Creators Program as well to look into to support your streaming while you're there. But as I said, this is it for us this week. Next week, you'll be meeting some new commentators. Ampulio and Dr. Watson 64 will be coming to the cast there, so please make them feel exceptionally welcome. Our thanks, of course, to our producer Patrick for making everything look absolutely wonderful this evening. But for myself and Rook, we'll bid you good night, and we'll see you again soon.